Let's go ahead and close out the second paycheck for July. I'm going to show you what worked, what flopped, and what I learned. Because budgeting is a journey, not a Pinterest board. This is real life zero-based budgeting with a luxe twist. And I'm celebrating the fact that we're still here managing even when the numbers don't do what we want. If you're interested in seeing how I close out this paycheck and the entire month of July, stick around because that's up next. All right, you guys, I'm Chanel. I'm a 32-year-old accounting student and zero-based cash budgeter. And you're tuning into Chanel's Pocketbook, where we budget real life numbers with no fluff. So today, I'm going over my second paycheck of July. If you were able to tune into the budget setup for this paycheck, as always, for the expected column, I did only account for the income from my job. I did not account for side hustle income because we never know what to expect with side hustle income. We don't know when it's going to come, how much it is going to be, or anything like that. So I do not include it in the expected budget. So the entire expected section is where we take the $1,299 and allocate each of that into the following categories. Now that we're closing, I was able to go in and complete the actual section. I did manage to bring in an extra $435 for my side hustle income. That brought us up to a grand total of $1,734 even. I did account for that overage amount. This was a good overage, not a bad overage. And it is reflected here. So let's quickly go over my expenses and discuss what the actual amounts were. For rent, I did expect to pay $800 and I did just that. For groceries, I expected $100. We stuck to that. For my phone bill, I expected $135. We did that. For my car insurance, I expected $118. For my Apple subscriptions, we expected $12. We stuck to that as well. For my brother Charles, I expected to pay $50, but I did pay $65. So I went over by $15. For gas, I budgeted $45. I spent $65 altogether, so that was an additional $20. For miscellaneous, I budgeted $15, but went over by $15 because I spent a total of $30. For my credit card bill, I allocated $44, but I put an extra $6 to that, so it came out to $50. For side investment, I expected $185, but I actually spent $235, so that puts us over by $50. For car maintenance, the $80 went towards a tire and a car wash. I spent exactly that and did not go over. For unbudgeted, I never expect to put anything in the unbudgeted category, but I did spend $44. Now, altogether, this does come out to be an overage amount of $150. Now, it's in red because it's not good for me to have $150 over. However, comparing this $44 unbudgeted amount to the previous pay period's unbudgeted amount of $591, this is a win for me. I'm not doing any complaining. I do see a lot of growth. Can it be better? Of course. But am I going to accept this as a win? Absolutely. I'm not going to beat myself up. Now, as I mentioned previously, the goal is to see this number shrink, and I did just that. I believe I want to make my August goal to see this number under 100. I think I can definitely do that. I feel like that's extremely attainable. It's just a matter of me being consistent and dedicated, right? So I'm up for the challenge. Who else is up for the challenge? All right. So some notes that I have here at the bottom would be to print off the expense trackers for my cash binder. I still have not yet accomplished that. That is something I really need to get the ball rolling on, especially while I still have access to my printing subscription. And then the second note I have here is to add a true budget for miscellaneous. This should prevent me from taking away from another category. And I honestly did not do that during this pay period. I did not take away from, let's say, my rent to give to my brother or anything of that nature. Everything, as promised, was taken care of. Now, it would have been cool to save some money in that category, but I did not, and that is okay. I still feel like this was a good pay period, and I look forward to growing more as I continue through my budgeting journey. Comment below if your second paycheck taught you anything for the month of July. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and close off the entire month of July. This is my first month end closing with you guys, and I'm really excited to do this with you guys and just to continue building and growing and learning lessons throughout these months. I will get to some of the lessons I did learn. A huge mindset hack is knowing that every budget tells a story, not of perfection, but of intention. The goal isn't to be rigid, it's to be aware. That's the shift I'm making as I stretch what's left of my 2025 income. Budgeting isn't restriction, it's direction with elegance. Say it with me. I'm not broke, I'm intentional. Having a budget does not mean that you're broke. It just means that you're being smart with your dollars. You are being intentional and fully aware of every transaction you have. And the more intentional you become, you don't become frugal, but you hold yourself accountable when you know that this money was allocated for something very specific, whatever it may be. That money was not meant for an In-N-Out burger or the latest pair of Lululemons. Let's put that money back in that cash binder and stuff it away. Let's go ahead and close off the entire month of July now that we have officially closed out Paycheck 2. Paycheck 1 was closed in the middle of July, so if you have not seen that video, go ahead and check it out. I'll be sure to link it above. All right. So just as with my paychecks, I only accounted for what I expected to bring in. I am going to fill out the actual section of the income as well as the expenses using data from my Paycheck 1 and Paycheck 2. Okay. I'm going to close off the entire month of July. If you're interested in how I set this entire monthly budget up, be sure to check out the video of my July monthly reset. I'll be sure to link that above as well. Just as with my paychecks, I only account for my income from my job because I do not know what side hustle money will look like or when it's going to come. To fill out the actual section, I will be using data from my paychecks to see how much money did I actually bring in and how much money did I actually spend. All right, let's get into it. If my paychecks equated to $2,467, I had an additional $435 that came in through side hustles. That puts me at a grand total for the month of July at $2,902 even. I'm going to account for the overages in green. I'm really trying to get in the habit of doing positive overages in green and then any negative overages in red, right? Shortages here would be in red, overages would be in green, shortages here would be in green, overages here would be in red, right? So I brought in an extra $181 on my paychecks and then the $435 from side hustles. I didn't bring in anything for any refund or anything like that. So that means I brought in an extra $616 for the month of July. A huge improvement from June, right? So now I'm going to account for the expenses that I had for each of these categories here. I will be using both paychecks to account for this section. So I'm going to round this $109 up to $110 for the month of July, specifically for gas. All right, so I've already completed the entire actual section for the monthly budget. This actual column again reflects what I actually spent. I did have to carry some items over here. As you can see, they have the variable symbol. So that lets me know that these two items and all of these items found under the actual column is what equates to the $903 even. So now I'm going to go in with my red and green to see what areas did I overspend, what areas did I save money in. So it looks like in most of the categories, I managed to save some money, but in a few other categories, I did actually go over, but not by a lot, in my opinion. And again, the reason why I use red in this section with a plus, because it lets me know I overspent by $15. And so I do mark that in red. In green, I have areas that I saved money. So I just notate that that's what I saved in green here. Now, if I did not bring in enough money in the income section, then I would have had a minus here in red. But since I brought in extra money, we have plus the green number, which lets us know that this is positive income. All right, so moving on to the expenses that falls below the blue line. This came out to be $1,687. Unfortunately, I did not have money for these items. I addressed this already in the monthly reset for July. When I was in the process of doing my August rough draft budget, which I will link above, I noticed that in August, I only budgeted what my expected income would be. If I did not have any money to budget, I didn't put it on this list. So with July, I over budgeted. As you see, my expected income was $2,286. For the fixed expenses, we had $1,085. For variable expenses, for whatever insane reason, I decided to budget $1,809, and that alone brought us to $4,581. I just noticed when sitting down to do the August rough draft that it was more conducive to budget the entire month based on what you actually expect to bring in. If you do not expect to bring it in, or if you don't know what the for sure dollar value is because it's a bonus or a gift, don't claim it until it's actually received, okay? So for sinking funds, I did diddly squat. We did not save anything for sinking funds. Saving challenges, I did not get around to doing that either. 4th of July, I definitely did spend $120. And then for Family Beach Day, this was actually canceled. So all I spent is $120 from the below expense section. I'm going to go ahead and recognize the overages and shortages just as I did above. But moving forward, I don't see a point in acknowledging something as an overage or shortage if you never put money towards it anyway, especially if there was not enough money to budget for that item to begin with. So we're doing it here just to keep consistency. It was very hopeful wishing. So I want to be more realistic in the numbers that I put down. If you want to know what I mean by that, check out the August rough draft budget. That is linked above. You can look at that video and compare my July monthly reset video. So both of them are linked above as well as linked in the description. If you have any questions on either of those, be sure to comment below. I'm super responsive. All right, so now we're going to get into the sinking funds. So as I showed you on the monthly budget, I actually did not have any money to put up for sinking funds. So all of this is going to be zeroed all the way down, not writing repetitive zeros. And the ending is also going to be 0. Now, am I satisfied about not having any sinking funds? No, I'm not satisfied at all. But am I going to beat myself up? No, I'm not going to beat myself up. We're moving on to the savings tracker, and I think that this is exactly why I'm not going to beat myself up, because I knew I still ultimately was saving. So at the beginning of July, I hit really big with my stocks. So I'm going to go ahead and account for that. I received a $17 dividend that I put back into my shares. So that gave me a grand total of $1,575 as the final balance for my CVS stock, which is amazing. I've never had this much money in stock before, so it's very satisfying to see these numbers here, if I do say so myself. For the month of July, we deposited $17, which is what I received for a dividend. I did not withdraw anything, so that leaves us at a grand total of savings as $1,765. Now, how this column works is the running balance. So on the first, my balance with CVS stock was $1,020. I did receive a dividend. I also saw a large increase due to the stock market going very well for CVS. So that leaves me with a balance of $1,575. I'm not taking this dollar value here and adding it to this dollar value. I'm simply going by the latest updated balance that I have. Now, what I did was to get to the 1765, I've simply added the 100, the 90, and the 1575. Make sense? All right. For debt, I did not take care of a lot of debt, unfortunately. But the one thing I did do was bring down my credit card bill. So for the vast majority of these, I'm going to zero them out because there's nothing there. Everything but the credit card bill is getting zeroed out. I'm truly looking forward to having some of these items removed, or if we can agree to do a pay for delete. So far, I have not received any responses, and it's definitely time for me to get my next set of letters sent in, because with no response, that does look really bad for them if they're not able to validate or they just choose not to respond. I can then take that to the credit bureau. But overall, cleaning your own credit can be overwhelming. And I just don't know how I feel about the credit cleaning companies. I just feel like it's a sham. But what am I to say? Look at my school calling. It's the University of Phoenix. Your girl starts school in September thanks to my job taking care of the bill. All right, so while speaking with my school, I did go ahead and zero out the appropriate columns. I did notate that I had the $50 payment here. That leaves us with a grand balance of $57,435 left on our debt that we need to pay off as soon as possible. I did pause my savings goal. Yes, so I had a savings goal of putting up 5% every month. So that way I could have paid off $3,873. Well, realistically, girl, after I realized I had $13,000 left for the remainder of 2025, I said there's no way that I'm able to put aside that much money every month. Now, what I at least can definitely do is take care of my medical debt, because it's super imperative that I get that taken care of so I can continue going to the doctor. I believe we are at 519. Where are we? We're still at $519 left that I need to pay. So that is the max I'm willing to pay into debt this year outside of my credit card bill. I will still continue negotiating with these open, closed, and collection accounts, but I'm not really prioritizing these accounts in the same manner as I am prioritizing these bottom three accounts, right? Financial aid is top priority. Medical debt and credit card is top priority. But while I'm in school, that does allow me to shave down as much as I can, interest free. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, you guys, we have officially closed out the entire month of July. I am so grateful that I stuck to the plan. I did not fold and give up on myself, and I did not allow any L's to deter me away from sticking to the mission, right? As I mentioned earlier, budgeting isn't restrictive. It's redirection with elegance. It's not meant to be rigid. It's meant for me to be aware of where my money is going, right? And so I am just thrilled that we saw it all the way through. Now, if you are interested in how I set this entire month up for July, check out that video. It's linked below in the comments and on the video screen. And then I also have the August rough draft already posted. This is Chanel's pocketbook, where we're budgeting with grace, grit, and a little glam. I'll be sure to see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.